concept to talk about with this is basically like talking about community management. Um, how do you kind of manage a community for PVE? And one of the big things is basically like kind of remembering that the content is the thing. In Final Fantasy 14, each patch basically comes out with more MSQ. And so like basically each thing so like they hype it up. They have a special site talking about the story. They drop a trailer. They drop teasers. They drop and then they have the patch notes that they kind of like they talk a little bit about what's coming up and whatnot in the what's coming up in the patch. And so like that kind of builds the excitement, and it's not just the MSQ stuff. Of course, like they also release new dungeons, new raids, and things like that. And so basically, like they make sure kind of people get kind of hyped up about the about basically what's coming out. I think they do like a really exceptional job at that. Really kind of making sure that people realize what's coming out and kind of understand what's coming out and manage expectations. Get people that.
Sometimes though they don't manage the expectations in the right direction. Because if you get a whole bunch of nerds excited about something, sometimes they get a little too excited. And sometimes game developers go, oh, maybe we shouldn't have hyped it up as much as we did. Maybe people will get disappointed.
Well, I mean that's kind of the danger of any time you kind of do something like that is they're gonna get people are gonna kind of like get a little potentially disappointed when the reality doesn't live up to the hype.
Because like I'll always use Eureka for an example of that with 14, because they hyped up Eureka. They're like, it's gonna be an old school gaming experience. It's gonna be you're gonna be able to relive the glory days of Final Fantasy 11 in 14 with your 14 character and your class, and it's gonna be so much fun and everything's gonna be great. And then everyone went into Eureka and went,
wait a second.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
This is everything I hated from 11.
Right. I mean, we all liked it, but yeah, like it was a grind for the sake of grind. It's not very low achiever mentality. I really didn't give a shit about Eureka. Even trying to play with friends.
I enjoyed the first wave of it, like because it was a little nostalgic for me. And it had items from Final Fantasy 11, and that was kind of exciting. But then, I completed the first part of Eureka. I'm like, oh, that was actually kind of fun. I kind of enjoyed that, especially once I got to that right level and I could use my mount, and that was great. And then I went to the second stage, and everything that I had done in the first stage got reverted basically.
Right.
And I was just like, oh, I don't want to do that again.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like grind for the sake of grind. Yeah, like the thing that really kind of chases me off though is like, they put like this kind of open world dungeon that's locked behind like the 4 Eureka grinds, and yeah. It just I mean this is kind of like poor design where like I think the really disappointing part is like it replaced the relic grind, which was something like I didn't mind, like the relic weapon grind, because it's something you could kind of do with other people a bit. It was something you could go do solo, and like I did like 3 anima weapons to different parts. I finished 1 and I got 2 that are like almost finished. But that's just kind of fun because I was doing that. I was doing that with when I was doing other things too. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna go do Eureka.
Do you want to stop the timer for a little bit?
Yeah. Let's. I'm gonna take a break here real quick. So you entertain people now.
I don't know how to do that.
I know.
Oh no.
I'm gonna leave you to torch them. I'll be right back.
And this is when the stream went downhill. How's everyone doing today? Did it. I hope everyone's having fun. This is the topics that we've been setting up for a little while. I think twice as long than we usually do our topics for. So I'm having fun with it. I hope you guys are having fun. Make the head dance. Make the head dance. Pumpkin, why, Pumpkin? No, I know why, because you were asleep, and then you stopped being asleep, and now you're awake. Good job. We're very proud of you. I just need to check a couple things in the game. Let's see here, 308, 315. You would make an let's see here. I'm just looking at the market stuff real fast because I can. The stuff I used to sell to make platinum, the premium currency in the game, like that market has completely dried up. I'm trying to figure out new markets to make platinum off of. It's been a little difficult. Chamber of Lotus. I kind of want it. I kind of want it bad. So, good news is that I have officially pre-ordered The Division 2, so I will be streaming that on Friday, I think is when it comes out. Let me check real fast. Calendar, please. 20... It's the 15th. Yeah, on Friday. So I'll be trying to stream that on Friday, if anyone wants to hang out for that. I don't have an exact time yet. I'll figure that out. And I'll let you know. But I'm looking forward to The Division 2. I had some difficulties playing it during the beta tests and whatnot, which, talking about betas, I hate playing betas, to be honest. They drive me crazy.
Crazier, you mean?
Shush. Shush. Are you excited for The Division 2?
Sure. I didn't play the first one, though.
I think you'd enjoy it. It's a fun loot and shoot.
Yeah.
And they kind of nerfed it so it's easier to get into it and set up through it.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, it's one of those things, like, you know, I will generally play anything with my friends, though.
Right. I
mean, like, you know, hey, we're playing it. Oh, okay.
You're jelly. I thought you pre-ordered the Division 2
Me?
Pumpkin.
Oh.
See, I wasn't gonna pre-order it, but then I got some inside information that if you pre-order it, then you get a free other Ubisoft game that you can pick from some of their more recent games.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, Pumpkin pre-order Shadowbringers.
I should do that.
I still need to do that. That's gonna be a birthday gift for me. I always get the expansions as birthday gifts.
Because it's just about the right time.
Yeah, they almost always come out in like July, so it's just like, okay, that works.
Right.
But yeah, so like, I have the actually. Let me go look at the Ubisoft store while we're kind of derping around. I get the choice of playing Ghost Recon Wildlands. I forget what that one's called. Watch Dogs 2 or whatever the Far Cry one is, Primal, I think it's called. I'm just like, I don't know which one of these games is actually worth getting. Which I mean, my response is, okay, you're giving them you're bundling them, so what's wrong with them?
Right.
I think
I'm sure they're probably just. I think it's probably more they're trying to kind of boost the numbers of the Division 2.
Right, and they're just trying to, get the numbers up on their store in general.
Right.
I'll probably
basically brag about sales numbers.
I'll probably get the Ghost Recon game because I've always enjoyed Ghost Recon.
Anyway, shall we move on to the next topic?
No, I'm trying to buy my thing.
Well, I can start talking. It's not like you can participate.
I know. It's just I just let you go while I play the game.
Pretty much, yeah.
I'm actually waiting for an endless because there's no endless at the moment.
For the Nightwolf stuff, we have to do 3. I assume you have the same one. We have to do 3 of some kind of mission. Sabotage missions. Is there any sabotage up?
Yeah, I have sabotage.
Yeah.
Yes.
To that.
Fine. Okay, I'll buy stuff from Ubisoft later. Whatever.
So talk about PvP.
I guess we'll talk about PvP.
And this won't take very long because PvP is not very important. Oh.
Hey, speaking of PlanetSide 2.
Oh, now. Look at you. Yeah, so going back to the kind of what the player expectations are is that it's competitive. You're usually you're pitted against other players, and really kind of looking at the Bartles killer type, which is very heavily competitive. They see the game as a sport. They want to basically show mastery over other people. Whereas achievers want to master the world, killers want to show mastery over other people.
Right. Because killers are assholes.
I mean, yeah. I mean, they're very valuable customers.
Obviously.
Their money's just as good as everybody else's, except they often. So I mean, this kind of I'll get into that a little bit. But one of the problems you run into is that if you look at Bartle's original paper and about how the different groups kind of coordinate with each other, killers chase off everybody else.
Right. But
killers
they're still required to have for a healthy environment.
I think it's less they're required to have, but they're going to show up.
Right.
And so, they're going to be part of the game. And so you kind of need to know how to deal with them. I think in PVE games, essentially a lot of times the killers just become like the essentially the customer service problems you have to deal with.
Right. That's fair.
Because and so because a lot of games don't really give them a very good outlet for kind of expressing their killer stuff. I mean, and to be fair, like said, they kind of go back to the whole sheeps and wolves discussion we had earlier. Nobody likes being the sheep.
Tajara says, some of us have standards and don't like killing fluffy bunnies.
So that's kind of what we're talking about, looking at. Ideally, the platonic ideal here for PvP is you want to have fair fights. You want to have very sporting type fights. The reality, of course, is there's some people that basically just want to win.
Mm-hmm.
And so they are the types of people that you kind of really kind of have to kind of sigh and deal with. Because they're the ones that kind of like, in a PvE, in a game that has PVE, they're the type that waits for you to get weak, and then preys upon you and steals all your drops type thing. Or they're the ones that the combat heavy characters that basically spring on the gathering type character and steal all the resources you spent 5 hours gathering. But ideally you kind of want like really kind of like I said, the platonic ideal is kind of like going for this idea of the fair fight. Where two people meet and you basically have, you let one person kind of like, demonstrate mastery of the other. And I mean, like, the people who gank other people are, still kind of just, showing mastery. It just tends to be a little bit more, the type of mastery that, a little bit more the type of mastery that, better planning. I was waiting, for you to do this thing. So, I was able to win over you, even though it feels very much like, it feels a little, I don't know, like slimy. You have to deal with the people that go around and gank you.
What's really fun is when you have a non-killer type playing a PvP game.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're kind of following their own, philosophy or methodology. And then, say, they're streaming a PvP game.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have killers watching them.
Right.
Losing their minds, going, why aren't you playing the way you're supposed to my standard?
Right.
I mean, I can only speak from personal experience. Having killers in my chat is a nightmare.
Right. I mean, yeah. I mean, like, they don't have kind of that mindset that kind of drives them toward that. Yeah. I think yeah, and so kind of looking at what you can expect out of players. I think so. Like, there's kind of 3 different groups you look at. There's people who kind of want a fair fight to test, kind of like what Jara was talking about. They don't want to just go kill fluffy bunnies. They want to kind of test themselves. You have the people that kind of want to win at any cost. These are the gankers. These are the people that kind of like will use cheats, aim bots, wall hacks, that type of thing, in first-person shooters.
They're the worst.
Right. Yeah. And these are the kind of toxic people you really don't want to kind of have in your game necessarily.
And then you have the filthy casuals.
Well, you have kind of the people that kind of like are more interested in just basically winning. In that they'll pile onto the winning side. Kind of like I was talking about before, when you have 2 factions that are competing against each other. Generally you'll have a winner and loser faction. That basically just means that people will pile onto the winning faction because they want to win.
Oh shit! Sorry.
You okay?
Yeah, I found the synthesis target. And I'm trying to kill them by accident. I stopped. And then they vanished.
We've decided you're bad for business.
Okay, I got it. Oh shit. Sorry, serious moment. We're good. Everything's good now.
Everything's fine. Nothing to worry about. Everybody's
right.
cool.
That'd be like the neutrals in like Star Wars Galaxies, for example. They'll just pick whichever side is
right
for what they want to do.
I mean, generally, if you're gonna have like factions or groups or whatnot in a PvP game, you kind of want to like have 3 factions instead of 2.
Right. So you get that pyramid.
Right. And so like if one faction is dominating and you've got 2 factions that are competing in it, essentially you have 2 loser factions. And so you still potentially have the possibility of people kind of like piling into the winner faction. But a lot of times you get interesting dynamics, like the 2 loser factions kind of having an agreement not to pick on each other, so that they can basically dogpile into the winning faction. When I played Dark Age of Camelot, that happened a lot.
That's how PlanetSide works.
Right, exactly.
That is PlanetSide in the nutshell. Like.
Right. No, it's basically a winning strategy. I mean, this is the way you design This is the way you design a faction-based PvP system.
Your target is the reactor. The reactor will have tight security. Watch out for enemy.
And so, and like, you know, basically kind of like kind of very similar to the PVE players. Like the PvP players want to kind of like show mastery over other players, but you know, of course, it's a lot more kind of direct competition. It's like I killed you, therefore I'm better than you, rather than I ran this dungeon more times than you and got lucky with a drop, and therefore I'm better than you.
Oh yeah, that actually makes me think of one particular time I was playing PlanetSide 2. And I was flying around on my Reaver, which I have set up for air-to-ground combat, so I just kind of farm tanks or infantry or whatever with rockets. And some guy got really pissed off at me, and he went and got his super advanced air-to-air dogfighting and just destroyed me. And then sent me this. I was like, "That's what you get for ganking spawners or whatever." I'm just like, okay, like,
right.
Okay, good job. You killed me when I'm really bad at flying, and
right.
And I'm not set up for dogfighting. Congratulations. Like,
right. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, like, and that's kind of like when you get the really interesting stuff is like when you have kind of this unequal thing. Like he thought he was demonstrating mastery over you. You didn't care.
Right. And he was very upset that I wasn't upset about it.
Right, exactly. I mean, for some people, they want that. They want that screaming. Like to put it, not too fine a point on it, they want other people to kind of like writhe in pain so that they're
validated.
They're right. Exactly. They feel validated in their mastery. They prove to themselves and to you that they're better, and so they want the weeping, wailing, and gnashing of teeth. Which that's basically kind of like one of the issues for for community management is that you're gonna have people that are basically just like that are basically just they want to cause suffering, and then and I think another way to kind of too is sometimes this feels like a sport, but without the sportsmanship.
Right.
People want to compete. They want to, you can kind of imagine it like being a football game, but no sportsmanship. They just don't kind of want to defeat the other people, prove their superiority, without even really even have to potentially put in the effort to to do it. If they're going around ganking, like you said, sometimes what one person considers, another person considers completely legitimate gameplay. So looking at the kind of sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, when I play PvP games, I'm usually playing like a supporter of some kind, where I don't function right unless I'm on some kind of a team or I'm in some kind of group, like play the medic or the ammo supplier. So when people kill me, I just kind of go, okay.
Right.
Good job, you got a kill. You got a really easy kill. I'm very proud of you.
Right. Yeah, and I think that the platonic ideal is these fair fights, but I think in reality a lot of times we don't get that because people are too basically too busy trying to kind of have EPing contests to show who I got the bigger dick because I was able to kill you.
Right.
And this can be super toxic for the community. And so a lot of major design concerns you look at is basically I think that one of the things that people kind of want to look at you kind of want to make sure that the losers are having fun. Because if they're not having fun, and if they feel, if they feel put upon, you get basically kind of you get a situation where they'll leave the game, and kind of like what I said before, with wolves and sheep, like the wolves need the sheep, the wolves want to have this thing where they feel they have the superiority over other people. And so if the people are basically losing all the time, feel like they're just not having fun because they can't win, because they feel like the situation is impossible. It's not a very it's generally not a very good situation to be in. And I think the other thing too is you kind of want to make sure that from a design point of view, fights are as fair as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least make it so that people feel like they're making informed decisions when they're doing things that are basically kind of put them at risk.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that was one of the big problems we run into with a lot of earlier games. You were going out and basically, if you were going out and harvesting, and then this was something you kind of felt was necessary to enjoy the game, to do crafting, then somebody just kind of comes along and ganks you and takes your 5 hours worth of work in 30 seconds. Well, that doesn't feel like a fair fight.
Right. I was just gonna
like a fair
say,
thing.
like when you play Rust,
Mm-hmm.
for example, which is a very good example for a PvP oriented game, a modern PvP oriented game. When once you have a house set up and you're have to go out to harvest resources or whatever, you don't take anything with you. You take your mining tool and maybe some food so that you don't starve while you're gone, and that's it, because you don't want to lose your stuff, and that's an informed decision.
Right.
So if you do lose everything, you don't feel like you just lost the game. You just got set back a little bit. Right.
But I mean, you still potentially have that feeling of you invested time into collecting this thing, and then you get killed, and you get killed. Basically, you lose. You lost all the stuff that you were spending that time collecting.
The other
but again,
sorry, go ahead.
But the other thing about Rust though is it's persistent-ish. It's it's not quite like an MMO where changes matter. A map can get wiped away in Rust, a map can get reset. You can go join a new map. Whereas in Ultima Online, you spent a lot of time, invested a lot of time getting a character up to the point where they could harvest these resources. And then you spend a lot of time kind of getting to the point where you could you spend a lot of time getting to the point where you could go out and basically harvest the resources. You invest a lot of time in getting killed, and it felt like a waste. Whereas with games like Rust and whatnot, it felt like a lot less of that type of thing.
Right, and the other thing, Pumpkin brought up Dark Souls, which I think is a really good game for the wolf and sheep example, because you can be someone playing Dark Souls and you're not playing for PvP, and then literally get invaded by a PvPer and just get wrecked because you're not playing for PvP, you're not built for PvP, you're not, they'll wait until you're busy fighting something and then ambush you.
Right.
There's a very much a predatorial scenario.
But there is a little bit of kind of the idea of making a informed decision for that though, where
True.
In order to open up, at least in the first Dark Souls, in order to open up multiplayer, you had to gain your humanity back. If you never got the spark of humanity back, then you would never be invaded.
Right, and that's true in the other ones.
Right.
Well, I will say that when I play Dark Souls 3 in particular, I got a little excited when I got invaded because I always have items to counteract invaders. One of my favorite ones was the seed of the giant seed of the living tree. I can't remember the exact item name, but basically what it did was that it made invaders, it made the mobs aware of invaders, because by default they're invisible to the mobs.
Right.
But the seed would make them visible to mobs and vulnerable. So
Right.
I if I got invaded, I'd make sure to run my butt over to some big nasty mobs that I knew how to dodge around. Wait for the invader to be like, haha, I'm gonna wait until you're low on health. Pop the seed, and then it turns around and just smacks them.
Right. All of a sudden, they have to kind of play on the same player. And I mean, and this is like like a game kind of rewarding, clever play.
Right.
And you knew how to do this. You had a strategy for dealing with this. I think that kind of one of the dangerous things you run into though is when you have, and this is the same as kind of any other game, when you have people that don't understand the game, if you're just kind of playing along and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I got invaded, oops. I'm basically getting my ass kicked because this other person knows the game so much better. I mean that's another problem you have with PvP games too, is that kind of talking about fairness and whatnot, is that it's really hard to gauge kind of somebody else's ability. I mean, you get a little bit of this in PvP games because you get a little bit of this in PvP games, PVE games, because just because somebody like we were talking about, just because somebody has a high level character doesn't necessarily mean that they know what the hell they're doing.
Right.
And so so basically then you have the issue of in a PvP game, especially in Dark Souls, somebody would be very low level, have a lot of experience in the game, and basically just kind of wipe the ground with you, even if they have theoretically lesser equipment.
Oh yeah, I remember one time I was playing Rust. I got in a fight with a guy who had a freaking fully automatic rifle and armor and all that, and I'm running around in just some cloth, and I have a spear, and I just managed to headshot him with a spear and kill him.
Right.
And then I got all of his stuff, and it was just and then I immediately died from someone else.
Right. Yeah, sometimes you get a little bit of that.
So I'm like, yes, I won. Oh, fuck.
Right.
I'm fine with dying in Rust. That doesn't bother me, because you just have to have that mindset when you're playing that game in particular. It's just that it's gonna be brutal, it's gonna be rough, it's gonna be unfair. So you just have to have the mindset of accepting that.
Right. Sometimes you're the fly, sometimes you're the windshield.
Right.
And so but I kind of go back to kind of design issues and whatnot. Looking at one of the kind of the common things you see happen in PvP games is there's generally kind of the concept of a meta.
Right.
And this is kind of bigger with a lot of the kind of the organized, the more organized games like MOBAs and whatnot, where you have the kind of the meta strategy, and then people kind of build around that, and then as a designer, you kind of don't want to disrupt the meta every once in a while to kind of keep people on their toes.
Mm-hmm.
The relic has been cracked open. Finish your mission to find out what's inside.
And kind of allow allow people to kind of master things, but don't let them rest on their laurels, and then don't let a single type of character dominate continuously.
Oh. Excuse me.
Whoa.
I apologize. I'll constantly, refer back to playing Psycho. I can't help myself. But playing a heavy is just a meta in itself, because heavy is the most unbalanced class in the game. Because it's a tank. It's like the tank infantry class. It's anti-vehicular. It has a personal shield that absorbs damage. It has everything it needs to just kill everyone else.
Right.
It's just unfair to fight against a heavy as an infantry. It's unfair to fight against a heavy and a tank. It's unfair. It's just an unfair class, and it shouldn't be in the game.
Right. But I mean, like, but a lot of times, like, when you get, a situation like that, like, then you get the meta of, oh, there's a heavy over there, kind of like focus on him and and take him down. There's another game I played a long time ago called Net Track, which is based like a space game, kind of vaguely based on Star Trek, and like one of the big, like, you had these big star bases that were just like these big killer things. And basically it was one of those things, like, when a starbase came out, like, they were just super powerful, and like so a lot of times you just focused on trying to kill your opponent's starbase because it was such a game changer that you wanted to kind of get rid of it.
Right. And one of the other things I notice a lot with PvP games is that everyone expects everyone else to be good at them. When you can be bad at a PvP game but still enjoy it,
Right.
Where, like, with a PvE game, anybody can learn to be good at it, to be honest. But PvP games are, like, there's always going to be someone better than you.
Right. I think it kind of goes back to what you were talking about, like, with the idea, the mindset, having the right mindset of things.
Mm-hmm.
Where if you get into that mindset of, like, beating up on socks and that type of thing.
I'm sorry, you're cutting out a little bit.
If you get kind of the mindset of, people are beating up on me and this sucks, then you're going to have a much worse experience than someone who, kind of comes into it and says, okay, maybe I'll win, maybe I'll lose, but you kind of pay your money, you take your chances type thing.
Right. What else do we have?
What type of mission is this?
Exterminate.
Okay.
Oh yeah, balancing.
Oh,